Peter. I think our viewers and listeners would be really interested in knowing a little bit more about I think what I would call the persecution you've experienced since you became a whistleblower. First, kind of being targeted by the State Department under Hillary, and you were in 2018 booted off Twitter. I couldn't really figure out why, but we've seen a number of people just kicked off Twitter. Daniel McAdams was kicked off from the Ron Paul Institute for calling Sean Hannity a retard, which, may be an insult to, many people. But I'm sure that someone who's like a multimillionaire like Sean Hannity wasn't very threatened by that. So it seems like there's been, political targeting. Tell us, if you can tell us a little more about that, that would be really interesting.
Sure. With the State Department, when they became aware that my book was coming out, and I had gone through channels, I had done all of the things you're supposed to do. They unleashed everything against me. They initially they falsely claimed I had included classified material. We pushed that back. They falsely claimed that I had done some things at work that were not work related. We pushed back against that. They eventually just basically said, we just don't like you doing this, and we failed to prosecute you. We're going to fire you because you're not cooperating in the investigation to fire you, was basically the wrap-up excuse. This went on for almost a year. I was sent home. I was not allowed to work. I was given make work projects. I was harassed by the security team, who was desperately digging through my life, monitoring my private emails, hoping they could come up with something. I live a boring life. They couldn't. In the end, thanks to some excellent lawyers, a woman named Jesselyn Raddick, who went on to represent Chelsea Manning and Ed Snowden, she worked with me, the ACLU worked with me, and I was able to, quote unquote, retire from the State Department, which is, under the circumstances, probably the best kind of ending you can expect in things like that. I've not grown quieter as I've grown older. And about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago on Twitter, I was aggressively engaging with a number of journalists, basically
Who
accusing.
were they? I think we run up against them a lot.
We're all Middle Eastern specialists. I can't remember their names, but if you go to my website,
so-called specialists.
Yeah, if you go to my website, wementwell.com, and search under Twitter, it should all come up. I didn't even know a lot of them. Some of them I knew, or some of them I knew by their work, but I basically was accusing them of simply writing down what government officials told them, of refusing to ask hard questions, in many cases not being prepared or educated enough to know what the hard questions were. And I used myself as an example that throughout my time in Iraq, I lied to them. I gave them inaccurate, incomplete, misleading information, and no one challenged me. It wasn't particularly difficult to do. And I have no respect for them. And they kind of did that Twitter hive mind thing where I guess they got all their friends to claim that I was harassing them. And then finally, this was on a Sunday night. I was actually watching, forgive me, it's a flaw in me. I was watching The Walking Dead on TV.
There's something wrong with that.
And I said to reply to one of these guys, I said, I hope a MAGA, Make America Great Again zombie bites your face off, or something like that. And he reported
they said that was like a death threat or something.
Yeah, he reported it to Twitter as a death threat, and Twitter at that moment banned me forever. No appeals, no questions. If I later was able to recover most of the tweets, and if you go to my blog, you can read them there. There's an article about it on the American Conservative where I do some writing. But basically, it was to shut me up. It was, you're pecking a little too close to the bone here, reminding people that journalists mainstream journalists, I should say. I should be careful. Mainstream journalists often are just stenographers for the government. Some of them are dumb, ignorant, unwilling, stenographers, and some of them, like the people who often write for the Washington Post or the New York Times, are extremely intelligent, informed people who still willfully write garbage in service to other people, other corporations, and other ideals, beyond simply telling the truth. And whether they do it as an intelligent, informed person, or whether they do it because they're stupid and are just writing down what they're told, it doesn't matter. The same garbage gets shoveled out to the public. And I was calling these people out by name, and that cannot stand on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm looking through these tweets, and I'm noticing many of these are people who are targeting us, actually, to try to actually get us disappeared, not just from Twitter, but get us disappeared from the entire internet, and worse. And you're saying that you hope a MAGA guy eats your face. It sounds kind of absurd, and it's not really it's not a direct threat. So I don't know. I get that all the time. People hope bad things happen to me, but I don't report them because it's like, they're not directly threatening me. I also get direct threats as well. But it always seems that the other side, the side that seems to be kind of promoting these wars behind their Middle East specialty, their supposed specialty, which they never seem to have or can back up, or, behind being on the left, that they engage in these coordinated targeting campaigns, and your voice was disappeared from a platform at a time when the platform is really, and Silicon Valley in general is kind of merging with the national security state. So I see this happen, and I always wonder who's next. And we'll be talking more in the future about some of the campaigns that are targeting us. But it was good to get you on to tell people about the kind of McCarthyite atmosphere we're living in. I think you said criticize a journalist and see what happens. They do this, so sooner or later the only people on their timeline are those who agree with them, and that's what they want. They want a complete and total control over all information space, and they are the true authoritarians while they claim that they want to promote democracy abroad.
I agree completely.